North Carolina, Wake County country at that. So, Dave, bring her on. Hey, Karen. No more jury
Hi.
duty. What did you go in there and say? Jury nullification. Is that a thing?
Well, ironically enough, I got a jury duty summons just like 2 days after being booked on this show. And luckily, they rejected me.
What did you go in and say?
What's that?
What did you actually go in there and say? Did you was you dressed up to the T? Was you in a business suit? Did you have educated articles, newspapers, books? What did you say to get out of jury duty?
Actually, it was really funny because it was a case that apparently involved a man who had slipped or fallen. Excuse me, he had fallen and had was saying that it was the conditions of his work or his job, and the employer was saying no, it was due to his own negligence. And so when they were asking all these questions, and they asked about anything that we had experienced that might be relevant, and I said, well, I don't know if this is relevant or not. And I said, but I did settle out of court for a double fracture to my left shoulder when I slipped on a floor in a grocery store.
So
And
basically, you would
and
be
they
on
said,
the side of
"Oh,
his side.
okay. Well, we'll hold on to that. We'll think about that." And then they asked later, "Have any of you ever had a workers' comp claim?" And I said, yes, two.
They definitely
And
was
I
not
think
gonna
it was a
pick you at all.
combination of both of those because the one workers' comp claim was actually I fell walking a dog
Ooh.
in the service of my pet sitting employer and suffered a triple fracture to my right shoulder. As
Oh
you can see, symmetry is very
no.
important to me.
So okay, now because Stan was trying to tell me the conservative network that you do. What
Yes.
do you do in Wake County when it comes to the conservative network? What is that? What do you look for when it comes to that? Because your Wake County, North Carolina, is not a conservative area
No,
at
it
all.
is very, very blue. And my group, it's called Conservative Advancement Network,
Yes.
and and we had we were formed as an outgrowth of the team of 105 volunteers that I amassed as a field organizer on the Trump victory team in 2020. And um, to answer your question, but then I'd like to go into a little bit of my
Go ahead.
testimony, if I
Yes.
may. Okay, so what we do to expand conservatism in Wake County, um, we work to extend our voice in the community through various means, whether that's spreading truth and in terms of flyers on windshield wipers. We've done that, letting people know about the real dangers of COVID shots versus COVID.
Yes.
And yep, um, and we have one member whose group that he leads goes into parking lots and surveys Hispanics about their values and points out to them, look, if this is what you associate yourself with more than this, then guess what? You're a conservative,
So
and you
you
should be
y'all are on
voting for.
grassroots, and you are trying to actually advance the conservative agenda and what we stand for to people on the ground.
Yes, yes, and we also pursue election integrity um, through various means, and we also vet and support truly conservative candidates. If they're rhinos, no,
Yeah,
you know,
I was getting ready to ask you, especially in North Carolina, after we saw what happened with Mark Robinson. Are I know that the Rhino establishment or the establishment do not like you interfering with a lot of these candidates or trying to vet good candidates to take on or primary sitting incumbent.
Right, right, exactly. And another thing that we do is we network with and collaborate with other sister groups, if you will, what we call affiliate groups. Because as far as we're concerned, we don't care who gets the credit. We follow the axiom of, I think it was Calvin Coolidge, who said it's amazing how much you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. We don't care who you get involved with, as long as you get involved. And so those are kind of our 5 pillars of what we do, as well as oppose government overreach and Marxism in all of its forms. So those are our 5 pillars.
Now, your testimony. Can you tell everybody about your testimony?
Yeah, sure. So, before 2016, when I was hired as a paid ground team member of Trump's ground team, door knocker, until then, I had completely eschewed politics my entire life. I did not want to become my mom. She would interject politics into any conversation, and she was, of course, a staunch conservative. And so it was never part of my persona, anything political. And Trump just lit the fuse, yes. Okay? So then I campaigned for with anyone who I met in conservative clubs. If you ever hear of a paying job, at that time I needed a paying job, with a conservative organization or ideally on the Trump team, please let me know about it. Well, that break came in 2020. And when I was hired to be a field organizer, an FO, on the Trump victory team, and I told my father-in-law that I had been hired. And you have to understand, until that point, I had a very checkered past, work history. I always say it was more checkered than a NASCAR flag. I was always 1 foot out the door, whether by willingly or not, because I was always being miscast. And when I told my father-in-law about my new job, he said, that's a big responsibility. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's telling me you better not blow this. So I prayed. I said, please, God, you know how badly I've wanted this job. Don't let me blow it. Please send me the best team of volunteers anyone could ever possibly ask for. And darned if he didn't. And
how big was your actual area in Wake County, and how big was your actual ground game at that time?
Okay, that's part of the miracle of this. I had the largest turf, as it's called, between 8 or 10 of us FOs in Wake and Johnston County, which is a neighboring county.
Okay.
And I say 8 to 10 because it would change, because more often than not, the FOs would drop off and have to be replaced, right? I had 57 precincts. Now, I will say they were for the most part, they were very tight. They were very concentrated. But nevertheless, 57, and I was the oldest. I had 30 years on the rest of the team. I was 56 or 57, something like that. And they were all in their late 20s, early 30s. I was the only woman who made it all the way to the end, and the oldest who made it.
Okay, what did they give you besides going to Mar-a-Lago?
Nothing, but the best thing I got was from my boss, who told me later. He said, and he didn't give me anything. It just affirmed that God had had followed through on his promise, because he told me that in their weekly Zooms that his regional level of supervisors had every Friday, when they would discuss what FO's teams would need some help in recruiting volunteers for the upcoming day of action or weekend of action, they would, without fail, somebody on that call would say, well, you know that Karen's is going to show up for her.
Now, do the Republican Party or the conservative groups around them, maybe let's say a politician, someone is getting ready to run for office, do they search you out to see if you could help them with their ground game? Or
Yes.
since you know where the precincts are, do they ask you for your help in that, so you're like a political consultant in Wake County?
I wouldn't call myself a political consultant. In fact, but in terms of asking me for my team's help, yes, absolutely. And um, you know, asking about, sometimes they ask about things about the area, but I should mention that CAN is a bipartisan and nonpartisan group. Um, It is a grassroots group of original constitutionalist conservatives. And for the most part, it's made up of ours. But there are also some UNAs, some unaffiliateds among us, and even, get this, a handful of soft Ds, of right-leaning Democrats.
So say you have somebody with inside of the organization that you know would make a great civil servant. Would you throw all of the organization's might behind that person to get them in office?
Oh yeah,
No
we
matter if
always
they're
do
a
that.
Democratic or independent or conservative, you just know after vetting these people, you're willing to endorse them to push them out there to make sure they win a seat.
Yes, and in fact, there have been several CAN members who have stepped up to run for office. There's a guy named David Bankert. He's run twice. Whitney Hill has won twice. Have run. These have run twice. They haven't won yet. Um, Whitney Hill, um, Yves Descholar, she ran once. Um, gosh, trying to think. David Robertson, he also ran. Um, so we have and Christine Wiesen, she ran for committee woman last year.
Now,
And
with Wake
so,
County being such blue, and you have a lot of soft Ds and a lot of independents that are out there, how do you test that water to see if they're ready to switch, or if they have questions? Is that like a monthly meeting, or how do you get the new people to know what can mean and the actual organization?
um, essentially, most of our newcomers we have met at other events and know them, if only by face, and know them to be solid conservatives. Um, and, we talk about our values, and if they say something that registers as being not really conservative, then that gives us pause. But that's very seldom
Now,
if that ever happens.
with the rest of your testimony, because this is what I'm trying to understand. Normally, because when you're out there and you had Trump Force 47, and even the Trump 2020 campaign, when you did and you brought a lot of recognition to yourself, did they start putting you on these phone calls? Do they ask for your advice, because that is your territory and you're the one that is not a revolving door? Did they give you a lot more leadership abilities and to make decisions on the ground game?
Um, well, it depends on what you mean by decisions and leadership. I mean,
Here's mine. When you were like running a precinct and you had 57 different precincts, You couldn't do it all by yourself. And you could,
No,
and you,
no,
like you said,
that's where my team came in.
and then you had to sit there and delegate over those teams to keep it
Yep.
a well-oiled machine,
Yes.
especially even if it's 50 people. That is 50 people that you have to take account of. Then your local regional director, when they was calling your name and telling them, because they had all the paperwork, did they give you some type of ignition for the hard work that you did in that 2020 election, even though we know how it turned out?
Um, no, I mean, I really didn't get invited to anything or anything like that. I was invited to continue working through January in Georgia, um, for the Loeffler and forget the other guy's name.
David Perdue. What did he
Yes,
just do?
Purdue, exactly.
He was just appointed to the ambassador of something of China.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So two Georgia natives. Now Kelly Loeffler is small business administration. David Perdue is now appointed to the ambassador for the something of trade of China. It's sad that I know they positions, not all of them, but a lot of them. So you came to Georgia to help Kelly.
I did go to Georgia, but on my own because I mean I went with another team that was not paid, that was volunteer, um, that was through the Wake County GOP. I did help until January 1st or 3rd, helped with that. Um, and we went to Augusta. And the reason I declined to go where I was going to be paid for it by continuing my employment on the Trump victory team was because I could no longer stand being muzzled as far as within the scope of my job. You could not be seen at any rally or protest that could be considered controversial. And at that time, we had a lot of mask protests. And
Wait. You mean to tell me when you was working on the Trump 2020 election, you couldn't speak out no matter what, even if it was contrary to what you saw in your values? Is it because you worked for the Trump campaign? You
Right.
might have said something that would have been a target for him. So
Yes.
you really did have to muzzle your voice.
Yeah. I mean, we had to be on Facebook and on Twitter. Back then it was called Twitter. We had to post our, pictures and videos and things of us in action and enjoying, supporting Trump, all of that. And, but we also could not say anything, and we could not be even accidentally in a picture. Where there was a reporter, I had to hide behind somebody else who was taller and blend in with the crowd.
Wow.
And it's like, no, I've done it through the tenure of my post. That's it. I mean, it cost me another $3,000 that I could have earned for that the rest of that time. And it's like, nope.
Do you think they was just trying to target you, or because they was targeting people that worked for the Trump campaign at that time, no matter if it was doxing them, if they was following you, or even slandering your name, you couldn't speak up for yourself, and neither could you fight back?
No. So I mean, it was if you were caught in a picture, of a rally or protest or something, not rally, but a protest against mandates or what have you, you could be immediately fired. And of course, if you said anything that somebody could take issue with and complain about, that was cause for termination as well. So it was really a matter of finally being able to exercise my freedom of speech again.
And now that you can talk, tell me what you feel about his first 100 days.
Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. And let me tell you, one of the things that I wanted to mention in this Um, I think you know, as all of us do, that God's fingerprints are all over this man, right?
Amen.
And the
Yes.
work that he's doing.
Yes.
And one of the proofs of that is that when I was in the 2020 campaign, I was talking to one of the volunteers, and she was very calm and collected, not at all worried about what was going to happen. And somebody asked her, um, how it was that she was so calm about things, and aren't you worried about if Biden gets in, blah blah blah. And what she said floored me. She said that she had had a dream that she had been standing somewhere in New England looking out over the entire country, and it was turning red.
Oh,
She
wow.
she watched it turning red. Okay, now fast forward 2 months from there, and I was talking to another young woman, college age, and her mom. She had answered the young woman had answered her door when I was door knocking, and she's, oh, I can't wait for you to meet my mom. She would love you,
Oh
and
my
she's
goodness.
really a super Trump supporter. I've got to get a three-way call with you. So she set it up, and I'm talking to the two of them, and somehow or other, that other volunteer's vision came into the conversation. I mentioned it. Dead silence. And I heard an intake of breath on the other end, and the girl said, Mom, you've got to tell her. You've got to tell her, Mom. And I said, what? She said, I had the exact same dream.
Did you see anybody getting locked up? I mean, did anybody see Hillary Clinton getting locked up? Anybody yet? Because they can't keep running rampant. Like I feel it's too. Somebody should have been arrested by now with everything that's come out since Doge, ever since President Trump in his first 100 days. Just what's been uncovered. How in the world someone has not been indicted? I mean, someone
Well,
way up there too, not the low hanging fruit.
yeah, I know. And we all share that frustration, right? But
Yes.
here's the thing. What I have heard and seen is that they are building the case, and that, you know, you just have to be meticulous in how well crafted a case is so that you don't risk blowing it. And really, it has only been 100 days. So um, I feel like God is working behind the scenes, bringing to fore other aspects that we don't know about. And I just have faith that it's going to happen. It will happen in God's time.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left. You still haven't told me what do you love about the 100 days, the first 100 days, because the next ones, I hope somebody go to jail. But no, since everyone right now for the last day, it's been like Trump's first 100 days. I'm hearing from the Democrats, Dick Durbin, Adam Schiff, what is his name, Hakeem Jeffries, nothing but bad. But when I'm looking at it, and what we've been paying attention to, I voted for that. I voted for all of that, for the rocking and rolling that Trump has done, and he is at executive orders. Now, just wish that the Republicans and Congress put something into law. Take some of that executive orders, like
Mm-hmm.
cash will forever be king, English will forever be the first language in America. Trump has done a lot of great things, but it's temporary because they're only executive orders.
Right.
What did you like?
No, I'm with you there. I hope that they will codify all of that and sign them into law, and actually grow a pair. But it's just the way of the. I mean, at least he's going at a more. dedicated, stronger, faster pace now than he did in 2016 because he had everything in place. And he has Doge. And to answer your question, my favorite aspects of the first 100 days are twofold. Number one, Doge. Number two, the border. And he damn well better get the border built, the wall built too, and not just decide that it's not necessary anymore. Um, so those would be the only things
I
that.
think the last time I looked at Breitbart and the Gateway Pundit, they're saying that the deportations or the apprehensions at the southern border has dropped by over 90%. You can't get a piss ant through there at this point when it comes to the southern border. I do know the same guy that started the actual building of the border, his contract was now renewed and they're going to finish out the border. But we don't know what the Democrats got up their sleeve. We know the Keystone Pipeline is now back in operation. They're going to refinish that. So I like what Trump has done in the first 100 days. Now he got everything steamrolling. I just hope he continue doing what's necessary. With Pakistan and India, that war, we need to stay out of it. When it comes to Ukraine and Russia, I'm at the point nobody get any type of weaponry from America anymore. And when it comes to China and the tariffs, I feel like tit for tat. They've been
Right.
breaking our back for this long. We are not the ATM of the world anymore. So, Karen,
Exactly.
we're at the end, we're top of the hour. Just go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at, if they're, because I know a lot of them going to be interested. And what is your website?
It is canactionnetwork.com, and that's two N's in the middle there at Action Network. Um, and you can reach me at Reigns Supreme, that's RAINES Supreme at protonmail.com or at info at canactionnetwork.com. And may I say that now is the time while we have the momentum to recruit more people of UNAs and weak Ds to conservative perspectives and engage them in Socratic discussions that lead them through logic-based questions that make them think to the conclusion that we're hoping that they will find, and for us to learn from each other and grow in understanding with each other. That's how we will win the ground game from now on, and that's what CAN is all about as well.
Thank you, Karen. Everybody, y'all stay tuned with the top of the hour. We'll be right back. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear friends, family, and supporters, my name is Nadia Hamilton, Lucretia's niece, and I'm reaching out with an urgent plea to help save the home of Lucretia Hughes, a true American patriot, a devoted mother, and passionate advocate for freedom. Lucretia has faced unimaginable challenges, including the tragic loss of her son to gun violence in 2016. Yet she continues to fight for saving America, our veterans, and your Second Amendment rights with unwavering strength. We are launching this Give, Send, Go campaign to raise $350,000 to help Lucretia keep her home, provide stability for her family, and continue the messaging for our country. Your support can make a real impact. Lucretia has always been there for others, speaking out against injustice and supporting causes that matter. Now it is our turn to stand by her. Every donation, no matter how small, brings us closer to securing her home and giving her the peace of mind she deserves. Click the link below to contribute any amount you can. Every dollar counts. If you can't donate, please keep Lucretia and her family in your prayers. Spread the word by sharing this campaign on social media, with friends, and in your community. The more people who see this, the closer we get to our goal. Thank you for rallying around Lucretia in her time of need. Together, we can keep her home and continue her powerful work. Let's show her she's not alone in this fight.
I'm all up in D Live. Welcome back to the Real News with Lucretia.